Office Space wasn't another late 90s comedy, and it was definitely not the sort of blockbuster smash its studio wanted. It was something more unusual, more modest, and in the end, more lasting, a corporate exorcism masquerading as an office satire, a rage fantasy encased in beige walls, humming printers, and passive-aggressive memos masquerading as policy. Behind the offbeat characters and mumbling dialogue, it was a pain movie. The creeping bleed of corporate existence, the hollow space of cubicles, and the small humiliations that accrue until revolution seems less of an option and more of a necessity. But the film itself nearly fell victim to the very kind of middlebrow it was attempting to mock. Studio executives didn't get it, critics loved it but shrugged, and audiences initially dismissed it. And yet, as the years went by, Office Space didn't merely survive, it became legend. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel StarVault TV, and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. What makes it intriguing isn't just the movie itself, but the 20 odd, humorous, and occasionally unbelievable facts embedded in its DNA. They demonstrate how a strange little film nearly undercut itself into oblivion, only to slink back as one of the most frequently quoted comedies of its time. They indicate how a stapler transformed corporate America, how a poor audition by an actor became legendary, and how actual CEOs were able to misunderstand so fantastically that they ended up quoting the very satire themselves. To make sense of Office Space, you have to start at the start, when the production was little more than a cartoon about a miserable man muttering about his stapler. The initial battle was over the title. Fact 1. Office Space was never intended to be cool-sounding. When Fox executives heard the title pitched by Mike Judge, they shuddered. Too plain, they complained. Too dull. It was less of a movie and more of an instruction booklet that somebody left on a fax machine. They pleaded with Judge to think of something more exciting, something more in keeping with the studio's latest hit, There's Something About Mary. That film was loud, commercial, and filled with wacky gags. But Judge wouldn't listen. The anemia was the punchline, he said. It was meant to feel like beige wallpaper. Fox didn't understand. As revenge or corporate spite, perhaps they cut the advertising budget and scrapped press screenings. Insiders suspected that the film was deliberately buried. To Judge, it seemed like sabotage. And yet, strangely enough, it was poetic, a film about corporate shortcomings fell victim to corporate shortcomings. So, why did Fox greenlight it then? That brings us to fact 2. Hair gel gags inadvertently opened the door. Following There's Something About Mary made a killing in 1998, the studio hastened to find a new, off-color comedy. In the midst of this scramble, someone remembered Milton, Mike Judge's brief cartoon that appeared on MTV's Liquid Television. Milton was the whiny little guy with glasses, complaining about his stapler, perpetually ignored. Not exactly blockbuster comedy material, but Fox was after chaos, not subtlety. If hair gel and zipper humor could fill auditoriums, perhaps a strange cartoon dude could as well. Judge recognized that it was not the same sort of humor. Office Space was subdued, deadpan, and sad, but the door was ajar and Milton got through. Milton's inspiration wasn't all imagination. Fact 3. Milton existed. Before he was a cartoon or a cult icon, he was a guy Mike Judge actually worked with. Same hunched shoulders, same monotone mumble, same unsettling fixation on a red swingline stapler. Judge couldn't shake him. So he drew him, hastily animating his irritations into a short film. MTV acquired it, then Saturday Night Live ran it. By the time that Office Space opened, Milton had endured corporate slights on television for almost a decade. Stephen Root's acting didn't merely define a character, it embodied a ghost that was already hovering in every office. Milton's DNA wasn't the sole literary strand in the movie, though. Fact 4. Office Space is a borrowing from Herman Melville's Bartleby the Scrivener. It was written in 1853 and is the tale of an office drone who merely ceases. His descent is muted. I would prefer not. He won't photocopy papers, won't relocate desks, won't play the game anymore. Peter Gibbons, hypnotized, does something uncomfortably similar. He doesn't blow up, he simply no longer cares. Judge never explicitly quoted Melville, but critics noticed the reference immediately. Both tales confront the same machine-like regime and show how choosing out, quietly, obstinately, can be the most revolutionary act of all. Casting Peter Gibbons was another fight. Fact 5. Louis C.K. almost got the part of Peter. At the time, Louis was only a struggling comedian with great writing ability and a face designed for sleep deprivation. On paper, he was perfect, but in readings, it was forced, like a guy acting burnout as opposed to living it. Then Ron Livingston, a then relatively unknown actor, showed up and had nothing flashy to offer but a real sense of being burned out. He didn't shine. He slumped, and that was ideal. Judge didn't require a stand-up comic. He required someone who was Peter, truthful, exhausted, and willing to get out of his acting persona. The Office Space villains are minor but memorable. Fact 6. Gary Cole's voice transformed Bill Lumbergh into corporate terror. Cole initially performed the role straight, but then, during downtime between shots, he mimicked an old boss's flat, droning voice. Yeah, if you could just... Judge didn't laugh. He leaned in. That was it. The flatter Cole got, the more intolerable Lumbergh was. A mug, suspenders, and a soul-sucking voice, that was all it took to develop one of comedy's most quietly frightening villains. Then Lawrence, Peter's neighbor. Fact number 7. Lawrence was modeled after an actual Texan dude. Actor Diedrich Bader did not create the mullet, the drawl, or the sleeveless flannel. He stole them from a neighbor he had known since childhood. That neighbor later caught the movie and, rather than being offended, was flattered. For once, Hollywood hadn't ridiculed him, it had made him immortal. Casting Milton, however, nearly collapsed. Fact 8. Stephen Root flubbed his initial audition. Too loud, too clear, too normal. Milton was to be a shadow. About ready to abandon hope, Root slouched over, craned his head, and mumbled at the floor, "I think you have my stapler." Milton was born. Judge leaned forward. The role was his. The posture had liberated the voice, and Root never relinquished Milton again. Fox, though, insisted on star power still. Fact 9. Jennifer Aniston was shoved into the movie. The cast was set, filming in progress, but the studio would not budge. They required sex appeal. Judge reluctantly inserted a love interest and cast Aniston, then at the height of Friends' popularity. But instead of fighting it, she swooned into the role. She abandoned glamour, wore polyester, and sported her 15 pieces of flair. For her, it was rebellion playing invisible after years of being the pretty face. The Office Space world had to feel real, too. Fact 10. The set was cobbled from actual failed offices in Dallas. Judge didn't want glossy Hollywood cubicles. He wanted coffee stains, crooked chairs, and air that smelled like broken dreams. The actors didn't have to pretend to be tired. The room did it for them. Sometimes the catharsis was genuine. Fact 11. The printer beatdown was therapy. Judge instructed the actors to play it like the machine had destroyed their lives. They didn't need to act. With actual bats, actual fists, and ghetto boys blasting, they destroyed it. No stunt props, no second takes. Just raw release. Not all of them got to release, however. Fact 12. Orlando Jones was trimmed nearly entirely. He had been hired as a snarky office guy, quick and scene-stealing. But rewriting and editing deleted him. In the final version, he only shows up once, in Peter's apartment, peddling magazines. A character who was supposed to be about corporate erasure got himself erased, a sad irony that was too perfect for the movie. The hypnosis spell nearly disappeared as well. Fact 13. It wasn't meant to stick. Initially, Peter would wake up out of it, business as usual. But audiences tested for the script, loved the prospect of him remaining stuck, totally mellow forever. Judge rewrote the script around it, transforming a joke into the film's backbone. And then there are the details fans can never forget. Fact 14. TPS reports existed. Judge had actually filled them out himself during his time in Silicon Valley. They weren't created, they were recalled. Cubicle warriors knew them right away. Winching at every, did you get the memo? Fact 15. The red stapler only existed as a prop since the movie came out. They painted a normal swingline fire engine red to stand out on screen. Once the movie was released on DVD and became a success, Swingline received lots of demands. They actually began producing actual red staplers, all because of Milton. The joke cut too close to the bone. Fact 16. TGI Fridays eliminated Flair due to the film. Aniston's waitressing gig was a send-up of the chain's tacky uniform buttons. Fridays phased them out quietly in 2005. When questioned as to why, one employee matter-of-factly replied, "Because of that movie Office Space." A pretend restaurant joke had replaced an actual one. But satire has its boundaries. Fact 17. Actor Todd Duffy sued Fox on Flair merchandise. His character Brian, the hyper-waiter, showed up on collectible pins accompanying the DVD. Duffy hadn't consented. He sued for false endorsement. The case was thrown out, but the irony remained. The smiling waiter became just another victim of corporate ownership. Fact 18, it flopped at the box office. Out in February 1999, it scraped together a mere $12 million or so. But on DVD, it blew. College dorms, computer offices, and break rooms circulated it like dope. It was the VHS of the decade by the early 2000s. With success came temptation. Fact 19. Fox desired a sitcom. An inexpensive weekly show of copier breakdowns and odd temps. Judge outright denied. To him, the movie was personal, a rebellion, not a formula. Reducing it to a laugh-track sitcom would rip its heart out. Lastly, fact number 20, Mike Judge wished he had done the ending differently. Peter finding peace in buildings seemed too neat to him. It resolved Peter's angst, but not the system. The film was meant to be revolt, not resolution. Judge went on to confess he wished he had left it more open, more agitated, more human. And yet, maybe the strangest twist came afterward. CEOs started quoting the movie. Executives showed it in meetings. They thought it was hilarious because we've got that guy at our office too. They didn't realize the joke was aimed at them. The satire became coffee mugs, motivational posters, and icebreakers at team-building seminars. Office Space had been swallowed by the very culture it tried to burn down. And yet, the movie survives. It survives because all office workers understand the burden of unnecessary memos, the bite of forced jollity, the desperate hopelessness of fluorescent lights. It survives because Milton never truly went away. He's still out there, stapler in hand, muttering his vengeance. And it survives because somewhere within us, deep inside, we'd rather not.